Loan xin kính chào quý vị đến với đài Vina Media. Và ngày hôm nay, Kim Loan xin mời quý vị cùng gặp gỡ với cô Lydia Edwards. Cô đang giữ chức vụ trợ tá giám đốc của Văn phòng ổn định nhà ở từ Văn phòng thị trưởng Boston. Và đặc biệt là cô sẽ chuẩn bị ứng cử cho chức vụ nghị viên thành phố tại Boston, đặc trách khu vực Charlestown, East Boston và North End. Xin quý vị cùng theo dõi. Hi Lydia.
Hi.
Welcome to the Vina Media. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Lydia, I know that you were raised all over the world by your military mother.
Yeah.
Please share with us a little bit about you and your family.
It's right. My mother was in the United States Air Force, and so she raised my sister and I by herself. And we went all over to Germany, to England, all different parts of the world, and grew up all of my friends were from all over the world too. Many of them had military parents. And so I really appreciate the diverse background I had, and I had wonderful education and became the first attorney in my family and the first homeowner in my family.
What made you choose East Boston, that you start your family and start a home here?
East Boston is a beautiful neighborhood. It's very diverse, and it's a wonderful neighborhood for families. And so I really thought, if I'm going to stay someplace and this is going to be my home, this is a beautiful place to raise a child and also to start my career.
Very good. Okay, let's talk about your current position as the Deputy Director within the city of the Mayor Office in the city of Boston as the housing stability.
Mm-hmm. So I became the Deputy Director last year. And my job really is trying to make sure that this city remains affordable for everybody. What we want to make sure is that families still feel welcome to come here and that they can stay here for many years. And so we look at the different things that are causing families to have to leave. Sometimes it's fires, sometimes it's a building collapse, and a lot of times it's a really expensive rent. And for many, many folks, they're no longer able to buy and own a home. And so we need to look at policies that really help us to become homeowners and allow for families to stay in Boston.
What are the challenges that you have to encounter as the Deputy Director?
Well, because we have such a beautiful, diverse city, oftentimes we have to make sure all of the resources that we have are actually shared. So one of the first things we did was any information that we had about your rights or about what to do after a fire, we made sure to put it in 5 different languages. It didn't make any sense to just keep everything in English. We had to acknowledge we have a beautiful, diverse city, and there's lots of languages spoken here. The other thing we wanted to do is make sure we actually knew what was going on in the city. I mean, there's a lot of evictions, a lot of people are leaving, and we needed to make sure we understood why. So the biggest challenge has been getting information and people telling us my rent is going up and what the average increase is. But we've been working on it.
What about the housing, affordable housing nowadays with the high demand and with the rent that you have seen that increased like skyrocketing?
The rent is going up faster than people's wages, and that's the problem. We have a lot of people who feel that they have been renting for sometimes 20 years, and then all of a sudden their rent doubles in a month. And so the city really needs to work on building more affordable units. We're building a lot of units, but oftentimes they're luxury priced. And so we need to, as a city, insert policies to make sure that we're actually building for our middle class and for our working poor. We also need to make sure that we have a pathway to home ownership. You know, there's some good first homeowner programs, but with the average price of a home being almost $500,000, a lot of people still can't afford it. So we need to invest more in people becoming homeowners. And if you do those 2 things, build more and also create more owners, it will help stabilize our rental market.
Very good. So you are running for the City Council?
Yes.
What made you to make that decision and running for this position at this time?
Well, I've been lucky enough to be a community organizer. I'm an attorney. I worked in legal services. And so many of my clients were immigrants who I helped either with their visas or I helped them get their wages. And so I have been working and representing and advocating for a lot of our community for years. I even helped to pass legislation to protect nannies and house cleaners. And so I did all of that before I was running. Also, recently I helped to start a soup kitchen in my community where we help to feed 100 to 125 people every Tuesday. And so it's in my heart to serve. It's in my heart to represent and advocate for people. So to me, this is just another level of service, and I would be honored to be able to serve and represent our community.
Okay, so you claim to be an independent voice. So
Yes.
what does it make your voice is different than the other candidate?
Well, I think I have a range of perspective that my other candidates don't have. I speak 3 languages. I speak English, Spanish, and Portuguese. I come from community organizing, legal services, but I've also worked in corporate America. You know, I'm a homeowner, but I also understand and fight for tenants' rights. So what that means that I take a lot of different perspectives, and I make informed decisions, and I really believe I'm only held accountable to the community. And so that to me makes me a fresh perspective, but also an independent voice. I'm not really concerned about how things have been done in terms of we've done it always this way. I think we need to approach things differently, and I'm excited about doing that.
So your focus are on the environment, waterfront, housing development, and education. Those topics is very hot and attractive. A lot of people look at you and to make the city a better place to live and to work. But it's also a big challenge for you. So would you share with us your approach on this each individual issue to make it like very effective?
Sure. So let's start with education. I'm a product of public schools, and I believe that we should have good neighborhood schools, that your zip code should not determine the quality of your education. And so I'm really dedicated to making sure that the schools, especially in my district, get the funding that they need and the resources that they need to make sure that when you come in there, you get an excellent education. And there's a couple ways in which we can do that. One is making sure that we have enough ELL program resources for
What is the ELL?
Sorry,
Lydia?
thank you very much. English language learning programs, and making sure we're providing resources. A lot of East Boston's high school students, actually it has the majority of ELL students, as in learning English as they're going to high school, in the state. So we need to make sure that we're really providing the resources to make sure that they're getting educated and also learning English. The other thing we want to do is make sure we receive funding. And I'd love to make sure that academic institutions such as Harvard and the universities that are nonprofits, well, they actually are required to pay or asked to pay a certain amount of money. It's not really taxes, and a lot of them do not fulfill that payment. But I think we should ask them as a city to really fulfill their payment obligations and then ask them specifically to fund our education, or part of our education. So I think when it comes to education, we need to take a fresh perspective. It's a civil right, to me, that you have a good school. And it's the pathway to getting into the middle class, it's pathway to getting into a good job. And when it comes to the waterfront, I think, or development in general, we really need to be creative. We don't want to develop a waterfront that's just for people that have a lot of money. We want a waterfront for all. And that again is asking the developers to make sure that they are paying their fair share and assuring that we have affordable housing in all buildings that we build. It also means making sure that we have, that we're actually climate ready. I mean, think about what's happening in Houston right now, what's happening in Miami, and all these different areas. We have a waterfront, and East Boston's on an island. We need to be prepared. And so as we look at development, we also need to be prepared as well. So it's a combination of factors, but we can do it.
Good to hear that. You just shared with me before the show that the church that you go to.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I live in East Boston, and so I go to Sacred Heart Church, which actually I think a lot of maybe your viewers also go to Sacred Heart Church. There's a 2 p.m. Mass there. And I've been a member of the church for almost 10 years, and it's my family's church, and yes, I am Catholic, but I'm very excited about the church and just in general being able to be in the community.
I do believe that our Vietnamese people need your help too in the affordable housing and all that. So at this time, what message would you like to send to the Vietnamese community in the Boston area?
Well, I think what's most important is that if you're looking for a fresh perspective that has a record of standing by all people before I was running, that is dedicated to making sure that Boston is a city for all, and making sure that it remains an affordable city for a majority of us, then I'm excited to be your candidate and I'm excited to be your city councilor. I think it's very important that we come together as a community and fight for our neighborhoods to make sure all of us can stay.
Wishing you all the best on your election.
Thank you. And the election day
Is September
September 26th
of this year.
of this year. Yes.
Cảm ơn quý vị đã theo dõi cuộc trò chuyện với cô Lydia Edwards vừa qua. Xin hẹn gặp lại quý vị trong những chương trình kỳ tới. Xin kính chào quý vị.